Hi and welcome. This time I want to show you how to make this sound, which is similar to a starting tape or maybe to a Mellotron. Let's start with an initial patch. I'm going to use the same wavetable in oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, which is Wavetable 50. And this wavetable is called Carplustone 3. It already has this string character. Let's change the octave to 16 foot and the level to 100. And let's do this also for oscillator 2. So I'm going to choose Wavetable 50 also here. I'm going to reduce the level also to 100 and change the octave to 32. Before we go on with the oscillators, let's have a look on the modulation sources. First of all, let's have a look on the filter envelope. We can change this to 100 in the attack phase, 100 in the decay phase, and about 90 in the release phase. And let's change the amp envelope. This should be a very slow and stringy sound, so let's change the attack phase to 80 and the release phase also to 80. So actually the filter envelope has no impact yet, but the amp envelope is changing the character of the sound already. And now we are going to change 3. We're going to change the sustain to 0 because this will be important later. And let's have a look also on our LFOs. LFO1 can remain on the speed 50, but we are going to add a fade-in effect of 19. And we are going to change the speed of LFO2 to 42 and also add the fade-in effect. Now we can go on with our oscillators. So now I want to modulate the wavetable position of oscillator 1. Therefore I'm going to change the initial position to 0 and I'm going to modulate the position with my filter envelope with 55. And now we can add a slight modulation in oscillator 2, also by the filter envelope, let's say amount of 10, and and the filter envelope is my modulation source. But this sound is way too clean, so we have to add a little dirt. To do this, you can use the filter modulation, the frequency modulation. As the modulation source, you can choose the noise oscillator and add a modulation amount of 10. Let's do this with oscillator 2 also. And the last thing we have to do here in this section is the balancing of oscillator 2, which will be equally to filter 1 and filter 2. Now let's add some noise of our noise oscillator. And let's change the color parameter to -35 to reduce the high frequencies a bit. Now let's talk about the filters. We want to have this typical tape or radio character, which means that we don't need the low frequencies and we don't need the high frequencies. So we actually need a bandpass filter, and we are going to set filter 1 to a bandpass 12 dB type, so a very soft bandpass filter, cutoff to 70, resonance slightly just to 3, and we are going to change the key track to 150 to have a very soft character in the low frequencies and a very sharp character in the higher frequencies. And let's change filter 2 also to the bandpass 12 dB type, the cutoff to 45 and resonance to 45 too. This is already similar to the final result. What we still need is a slight vibrato. So let's go to the Modulation Matrix and let's add some vibrato by assigning LFO1 to oscillator 1 pitch with 13. And LFO2 also with 13 to oscillator 2 pitch. And because we have this fade in the LFO section, you can hear an incoming vibrato. So you press the key, you have no vibrato, and then after a few seconds the vibrato builds up. What we still need is this incoming pitch effect, and therefore we need envelope 3. Let's have a look again on envelope 3. It looks like this, but we don't want the pitch to change from high to low. We want the pitch to change from very low to high. So we are going to use modulation slot 3 and use envelope 3 as the modulation slot for our overall pitch, and modulate the pitch by -64. So we're going to start with a very low pitch, and we are going to change the pitch slightly, step by step, to the normal pitch. This is already a part of the final patch, but we can add a second character to this patch by using the modulation wheel. So when we turn the wheel up, the character of the whole sound changes completely. Let's try this. I'm going to use all the next modulation slots with the modulation wheel as the mod source. And we can, for instance, change oscillator 1 level to -40 so that it disappears. Again, with the modulation wheel, we can modulate filter 1 cutoff, with the amount of 36, so we can raise the filter frequency, and again the modulation wheel as the source. Now we can change the noise level with an amount of -25, so we are going to reduce the level of the noise oscillator with the modulation wheel. We can also change the impact of the second LFO by modulating modulation slot 2. So the mod wheel is changing the amount of modulation slot 2, which is LFO2 modulating the vibrator of oscillator 2. We can change the amount to have +4 compared to the original amount. And as the last modulation, we can also change filter 1 resonance. So the modulation wheel is changing filter 1 resonance to plus, let's say +50 or +60, something like that. And we have a second, slightly different character. It's like having a second patch and switching between those two patches by using the modulation wheel. And that's the whole sound. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. If so, make a thumbs up and share your thoughts by writing a little comment. If you want to get my next videos, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell. If you want to have an empty patch sheet for your own patches, check out the links in the video description. And thanks for watching and have a nice day.